Hello friend, we are down in the basement and one of my goals today is going to be to kind of empty some of these freezers. I thought, I don't know, a week and a half ago, I opened my very last bag of frozen strawberries from last year. Then I was down here the other day and I found 2 more bags of frozen strawberries, and it is officially strawberry season around here. And so I need to get these bags out of my freezer and turn them into something so that we can get some new strawberries for this season. And while we're doing kind of food preservation projects, I have a ton of chicken carcasses that need to be turned into chicken broth. So I thought we could have that simmering on the stove. This is just a couple of them. I've got more in my upstairs freezer. So we're gonna get going on that so we can can some chicken broth. 2 bags of strawberries. I probably should have pulled these out of my freezer last night and let them thaw, but I didn't. So that's gonna be okay. And I've had my flour freezing for a few days now. So I'm gonna take this out because I'm almost out of flour in my buckets and some rice. And I'm gonna let this come to room temperature. And tomorrow I'll put these in my buckets. I don't wanna put these in my buckets while they're still cold because you could get condensation, and obviously moisture in dry goods is not good. Okay, we'll let these sit here. I know I need to restock a few things in the kitchen, so we'll probably work on that today too while we wait for broth to simmer. And so it's just gonna be a day around the kitchen where we're gonna get things done. So I'll meet you upstairs. So I have one more chicken carcass out here I need to grab. Since we're making broth, I'm gonna grab some carrots from the garden from last year and some sliced onions. I knew I was gonna be doing some canning projects, so I just washed some jars in the dishwasher so that those would be ready for me for our projects today. So I just grabbed my big stock pot. When I cook whole chickens, or if I buy a rotisserie chicken, I always save whatever we don't eat, the bones and skin and collagen and all those types of good things, to make a delicious homemade chicken broth. And then I can it up so I have homemade chicken broth on my shelf whenever I need it. You can also freeze broth. That's what I did for years and years until I learned to pressure can. And the reason I learned to pressure can is because I started buying meat from local farmers and my freezer space was precious. So instead of taking up space in my freezer for broth and then needing to thaw it before I used it, which sometimes was not very convenient because if I'm making like a pasta and I just need a little bit of broth, or I'm making soup or whatever it might be, sometimes I need it in liquid form. And so I have found that the canned broth is fantastic for that purpose. No need to thaw it. Last time I made broth, I actually bought the backs of chicken bones from a local farmer because they sell chicken breast and chicken thighs, which leaves them the whole back. And I made broth with that, which was incredible. But these are some rotisserie chickens I got at the store. I think one of them was a whole chicken I made and 4 of them were from the store. And so I like to use whatever I have available to me. So this is what I have available. So I'm gonna get 1 bag of carrots in there. My onions that I bought from a local farmer I think I bought them in September, were all starting to get soft. So all the ones that were starting to get soft, I just diced up and froze so that I can use them whenever I need diced onions. And I'm gonna go ahead and get that in there as well. When I make broth, I like to make a lot of it at one time. And so this is gonna get me quite a bit of broth. I think that's about as full as I wanna fill it because I want a nice concentrated broth. So I will show you how we're gonna pressure can this once we get to that point. But it's gonna be a bit before we get to that point. So I do like to season my broth. I make it a little bit different every time. Sometimes I add carrots, sometimes I don't, sometimes I add onions, sometimes I don't. Today I am, but I do always season it with salt because I like it to be seasoned with salt. But the awesome thing about when you make your own broth at home is you have the power to season it or salt it however you like. And I'm gonna actually use some of my basil salt that I made last year. When I first made this, I was not going through it. Started using it about a month and a half ago, and I've been loving it. So all I did last summer is blend up salt and a ton of basil, let it air dry, and that's what this is. And it's incredible. I wanna make a ton of different salts this growing season. So we have that in there. Now, I'm gonna add a bunch of black pepper. If I had whole peppercorns, that would probably be better, but I don't. I'm just gonna put 2 big pinches in there. And that's all I'm gonna season it with, unless I have a little bit of garlic, I'll put garlic in there. Looks like I have 1 tiny little bulb. So all I'm gonna do is cut off the root end. Make sure every clove looks good. Cut it in half, papers and all, just like that. And then I do taste this before I jar it up and we can it. So first project, check. I know that I am running low on, yes, I am completely out of oil in here. Normally I have toasted sesame oil, but I don't have any avocado oil or olive oil up here. I'm out of vinegar, rice wine vinegar, white wine vinegar. I thought there was one more I was out of. I guess my red wine vinegar, I'm a little bit low. So when I head back downstairs, which I will need to do in a little bit to grab a few more things for our projects, I will grab those vinegars and restock. Okay, so those things, I kind of started talking about a little bit with my bulk storage that I'm paring back a little bit on what I'm storing, and I'm trying to only bulk store my staples that I use all the time. And vinegars are definitely something we go through. Oil, we go through flour, salt, broth, meat from local farmers. Those types of things we go through a lot. So I do want to store those. But random things that we don't go through very quickly, I am kind of paring back on that. Why did I come down to this drawer? Because I need a pot. I need a big pot. And this is a big pot because we are gonna turn some of those, all of those strawberries into some jam and maybe some strawberry lemonade concentrate. I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna move my griddle. We're gonna use this in a bit because I wanna make English muffins today. Since we're making jam, I thought it would be fun to make some homemade English muffins as well, which I don't think I've ever made before. Because my strawberries are frozen, I need to thaw them out. That's why I was saying it probably would have been good if I had thawed these out overnight, but I didn't. So here we are. So when I make jam, you have to measure everything according to the recipe. And obviously I can't measure this out properly because it's all frozen. I'm not gonna put any water or anything in this because there's enough ice that will create liquid once this steams a little bit. I have this pot on super, super high. Once it comes to a boil, I'll turn it down a little bit. I have this also on a medium, kind of medium high. Once this starts to cook down, I will turn it down. All we're looking to do is get these soft enough that I can mash them and then we can measure them and then we can turn them into the goodies I decide to turn them into, because I'm not exactly sure. We have 2 pints left of strawberry jam, and strawberry jam is our absolute favorite. So I know I need more jam to get us through 2024 to 2025, but I probably should look through my canning books to see if there's anything else I wanna make. I just got dinner going. I am making a chicken mango curry, which sounds delicious. I'm gonna be doing a week of crock pot dinners this week, so if you have seen that, let me know if it was good or not. And if you haven't seen it, look forward to it because that is what we're having for dinner tonight. So in the time it took me to make that, our broth has come to a boil, and I wasn't fully paying attention to our berries, and they came to a rolling boil and actually boiled over a little bit. And I think what I've decided I'm gonna do with this is I'm going to make strawberry lemonade concentrate with honey. One of my favorite food preservation books is this Freeze Fresh, and I made Crystal's just lemonade concentrate with honey when we preserved all those lemons, and we've already gone through all of it because it's just great when guests come over to pull that out. I can thaw it really quickly and mix it with water or tea and make like an Arnold Palmer. And together in a live, we're gonna be making some strawberry jam a week from tomorrow. So I don't think I need to turn this into strawberry jam because then we might have more than we need. I can link this book down below. Crystal is my friend and she's done a fabulous job with this book. If you want to get into food preservation but you don't want to can, or if you just want to want to look at the strawberry section. Another option, then this is the book for you. I have been buying from local farmers and food preservation and had my own garden now for about 4 or 5, well actually I've been canning for almost 9 years. And I am learning over the years that different things I like preserved different ways. I like pressure canning my broth because it's liquid at room temperature. And some things I prefer frozen as opposed to canned. Like I would not eat a canned carrot because I don't like mushy cooked carrots, but I like them frozen. So just learning over time what your family likes, what my family likes, and doing whatever method you like the best, because there's no point going through all this effort. I can't talk and look something up at the same time if you preserve it in a way your family doesn't like. And ask me how I know that, because there's definitely things that I have had to give to the chickens or throw in the compost because I preserved it in a way we don't like. And I want to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, freezer jam, that's what we're going to be making, strawberry freezer jam, because actually I prefer strawberry jam frozen over canned. I've been canning it for the last 5 or 6 years, not freezing it because I wanted that freezer space for the meat that I purchased from local farmers, but I actually prefer it frozen because it tastes a little bit fresher. That's what my mom and I did growing up, is we made freezer strawberry jam. And this year, I'm giving myself the permission to put that in the freezer and to take up some freezer space with some strawberry freezer jam. I'm gonna can it too, but I do prefer freezer jam. So that is in this book. I was gonna see if she does not have a strawberry lemonade concentrate. So I'm just gonna go off her ratio for her just lemonade concentrate, for the lemon to the honey ratio, and then I will just add those strawberries to it. Lemon, honey lemonade concentrate on page 82. This is gonna be perfect because those strawberries are nice and hot now, and my honey is extremely crystallized. I just pulled out these 2 things of lemon juice, and I'm gonna let these just thaw just a little bit at room temperature, and I should get the English muffins going because those need to rise. So we'll make this lemonade concentrate while our English muffins are rising. I have some milk and water in the microwave warming up. I'm gonna melt about 2 tablespoons of butter. That's my microwave done. This milk is way too hot. I need it at 110, and I think I nuked it a little too long. I'm gonna take its temperature real quick. Yeah, we're at 125 degrees. So I'm going to just pop this in the refrigerator for a couple minutes. Last time we were in the kitchen together, we organized, well, maybe it was the time before, I'm not sure. We organized these drawers, and I am happy to announce it has been over a week, maybe a week and a half since we organized them, and they are staying nice and organized, so I'm happy about that. I'm gonna go ahead and check on our milk. I went ahead and actually stuck it in the freezer for a second. I just had the thought, we're not making jam, and that's why I wanted to make these, but I have jam. Okay, this is perfect. 105 degrees downstairs. So even though I'm not making jam today, we have jam to try these English muffins with. So now I'm gonna grab my yeast and I'm gonna add that to my milk. One packet's worth, which is 2 1/4 teaspoons. Mix that together. We're gonna let that sit while we get our dry ingredients ready. We're gonna go ahead and make these in my mixer. I do think I wanna weigh out my flour. We need 330 grams. I will link this recipe down below for you if you wanna try making English muffins. I have 331, I think that's close enough. Now I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of sugar, salt, mix that together. We're gonna add 1 egg, our melted butter, and our activated yeast. So this has been kneading for probably about 10 minutes. And it was so sticky. I did end up adding a little bit more flour. And now I want to do the window pane test, which is where I just got to get some. You take your dough and you see if you can you can stretch it enough to where you can see light through it without it tearing. I think I need this to knead for a little bit longer. We're not quite there yet. Let's do this again. I think we're there. Close enough at least. So all I'm gonna do is remove this and I'm gonna stretch this dough out just a little bit so it fits a little better in this bowl. And we're just gonna let this dough rise for about an hour or so, maybe a little longer, just depends on how warm my kitchen is. And now while this is rising, I'm gonna get this soaking so I can get this clean. We can turn our attention back to our strawberry lemonade concentrate. I just grabbed out my big tub of honey, and there is a canning recipe for strawberry lemonade concentrate. I have canned it before, but I really liked the freshness of the fresh lemon juice and the honey concentrate the lemonade honey concentrate that we froze. I think it's gonna be a lot fresher if we do it this way because we can use fresh lemon juice. If you're canning, you need to use bottled lemon juice, and this stuff just tastes so good. So I'm gonna go with the same ratio that Crystal uses in her book. Oh, I forgot, I was gonna blend those strawberries up, but I can do that after this lemon melts. And I can just reuse these containers to freeze our concentrate in. So now I'm just gonna eyeball the honey, but kind of going for the same ratio. And we just got honeybees last week, so maybe one day we could make this with our own honey. So it's good that our strawberries are still pretty warm, so it can melt our lemon juice and it can melt this crystallized honey. This is why it's nice kind of pre-batch making this, because this summer when I want to make this, I'm not gonna have to go through the effort of dealing with this crystallized honey. It'll all be ready to go. So I'm counting this as about 1/3 cup. I may have lost count just a little bit, I'm gonna give this a taste test once my lemon juice completely melts. While this is melting, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my stick blender. One of my favorite food preservation pieces of equipment is a good stick blender. There's a few chunks in there. That's totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and taste this. I know that this is concentrate and we're gonna add a bunch of water, but that is still very, very tart. So we need some more honey. I wanna make sure that I'm not putting any liquid into my honey because that's why I just grabbed a new spoon, because I had mixed the other ones in here because moisture can cause spoilage. Okay, I'm gonna do one more scoop, mix it in, taste it. Actually, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go with that. So I can always add more. To make the lemonade, I take 1 pint, I put it in my pitcher that's this size, which I think it's 64 ounces to right here. And then I fill the rest with ice and water. But I think what I'm gonna do is freeze some in some smaller containers so I can do, actually I think if I do Arnold Palmer, because Arnold Palmer is one of my favorite drinks in the summer too, is I just make the rest with iced tea instead of water. Oh, that is perfect. I'm glad I waited and didn't add any more honey. This is, don't have a stove on, but this is still kind of warm. I don't want to put it in these containers yet. So we're just gonna let this cool down. So we've got one project on its way, one project done. We just need to put it into containers. We've got our other project on its way. I'm gonna put this away. I'm actually gonna bring this downstairs. I don't need this up here. So while we're waiting for these things to do their thing, I'm gonna go grab some vinegar to fill up my vinegar jars. All right, I just made it down here and I'm gonna get this honey on this shelf over here because that doesn't actually go upstairs. I know I need an olive oil and I'm gonna grab an avocado oil, and I think my spray is gone too, so I'm gonna get that there. And then while we're down here, I don't think I've showed you this yet. Josh installed, because you all recommended it, placing bungees on the front of these shelves so that jars don't fall off the front or off the back. So you can see here, I figured I would just show you this too. I'm completely out of diced tomatoes, just plain. I still have these bruschetta tomatoes, which I wasn't sure exactly how I was gonna eat them. Normally you would eat them on bread. What I've been doing, because there's wine and vinegar and garlic and basil and things in here, I've actually been draining this and turning this into a pasta sauce, and it's been fantastic because I'm completely out of marinara sauce. So that's what was right here. That is completely gone. I still have tons of crushed tomatoes, so we're going through crushed tomatoes. Another thing I'm almost out of, this is my last small jar of pickled peppers. I've been using these like you would use roast peppers, and I've kind of been savoring that jar. I have 2 jars left of strawberry jam, 1 jar of peach jam. These pickled onions, I said in the taste test that I like fresh pickled onions better, which I do, but I think I made like 10 of these jars not that long ago, and we only have 2 left because we've been eating them. The convenience of having them on the shelf has been incredible. When I was flipping through, well, I don't know if I would do that. I was gonna say I don't know if I'm gonna do that, so never mind. I interrupted myself, but I definitely will do pickled onions again. I don't think I'm ever gonna do canned corn because I like frozen corn better. We only have 3 jars of jarred up green beans. I don't think I'm gonna do that again. I have plenty of beans dried on the pantry shelf that are canned, so I don't need that. This is my chicken broth area, and that's why we're making chicken broth, because I don't have very much left. And so we're doing pretty good, but definitely some things are completely out of. I did not go through this year as much salsa verde as I've gone through in the past. So I actually don't think I'm gonna be jarring up any more salsa verde this summer, which is no problem because we will find other yummy uses for the tomatillos that are growing in the garden. Or I'll just make fresh salsa verde. It's kind of nice when I don't have to make every recipe every single year. So I'm just grabbing my different vinegars so I can fill up. I almost thought I just dropped my my basket with my olive oil and things. Okay, got that. We are completely out of the onions and potatoes that I put up from last year. We still have some of the diced onions that I showed you in the freezer, but fresh onions from the garden that I put up and fresh onions from the farmer that I bought, those are all gone. Potatoes are all gone, pumpkins all gone, and we're doing good. I don't want a bunch of things lasting from year to year. I want to try to use them up before the next year's garden season. Okay. Might as well take the cellophane off these so when they're ready to go. So the red wine vinegar isn't fully empty, but while I'm at it, I might as well just fill it up. So I'm gonna go rinse these bottles off and then get them back in the pantry. Feels good to have this cupboard restocked again. I've been using random other vinegars recently because if I was out of this one, I would just use, like, this is the rice vinegar. I would just use distilled or something like that, but it's nice to have the correct vinegars in the correct spots now. Now all I'm gonna do is bring these back downstairs and we are set on vinegar again. I can put these funnels right into the dishwasher. And actually I think I'm gonna wait to go downstairs because I might need to grab something else. I'm gonna put this spray away. I think this is cool enough. We can go ahead and get this in our containers and get this in the freezer. Get these in the dishwasher too. These are what Crystal recommends for freezer containers. And so it's what I've been using and I love it. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just fill these up. It is time to roll out these English muffins. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna grab my large silicone mat and I'm gonna lay this down. I love this thing for any time I need to roll dough out on my counter. And we've got our dough, it's risen by double. So we're gonna get this out. It's a very soft dough, even with me adding a little extra flour to it. And this is supposed to make 14, I think, actually. And I need to get a 3-inch cutter out. And I need to dust this, whoo, see, it's very sticky, with a little bit of flour. It's probably a little more than I need. So I have some cornmeal here that I'm going to sprinkle on this cookie sheet with parchment paper. You could use cornmeal or semolina flour. I only have cornmeal, so that's what I'm using. So because I kind of shaped this into a ball, I developed some more gluten, and so it's wanting to spring back. So I'm just gonna roll it out just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna let it rest for a few minutes, and then we'll come back to it. I let this rest for another few minutes, just a couple minutes, and then I was able to roll it out to about an inch thick. And so now what we can do, just kind of releasing it from the bottom, is actually cut our English muffins. And the recipe calls for 3-inch English muffins. I may have rolled these a little bit on the thin side. I got these covered and I'm gonna let them rise for about half an hour or so. While I'm waiting for those to rise, I am gonna go ahead and strain off my broth. It smells heavenly. It smells so good. This has been cooking for hours and hours and hours and hours. Let's see, what am I gonna use to transfer it? I have my 2-cup measure. I'm gonna go wash this out real quick because it just had flour on it. And I'm gonna use this. Oh, it smells so good. So what I have here is a big stainless steel bowl with a colander and a fine mesh sieve on the inside. And I'm just gonna start sieving this through. I think what I want to do before I do anything else is actually taste this broth. I could let this cook longer, but if it tastes good, we could just move forward now. Oh, that's some of the best broth I've made in a long time. Now, you can do this overnight too. Sometimes I do that. I will start the cooking process right before I go to bed, and I'll just let it gently simmer all night on the stove, or sometimes a crock pot or a roaster pan. But this stuff tastes fantastic. That's the one nice thing about making broth from chickens that have been roasted, is it just gets that deeper, rich flavor. And if I'm gonna go through the effort of making my own broth, I wanna make sure that it has extremely delicious, rich, deep flavor. Look at the color we got. How beautiful is that? Here's what our beautiful broth is looking like. So now I'm gonna get this broth into some jars. Anytime I can, either on the stove or with my electric pressure canner, I always go back to my manual and follow the recipes. Pressure canning is not something you can get creative with. You need to follow the rules. And if you do that, it's easy. You just need to make sure you follow the rules. So I'm looking for broth under pressure canning, soups and stocks. Chicken stock, page 30. I love this pressure canner when I don't want to have to pay attention to what's going on because it does a great job. Okay, so I need to process these pints for 20 minutes. So all I have to do is, I'll show you how to use this. I closed it, I have it locked. I have it on vent. I put it on pressure can. There's either pressure can or water bath can. This is pressure can. This is water bath can. We're pressure canning, so I'm gonna put it here. Hit start. I insert the jars, I already did that, start, and now it's going. So this will just tell me what to do. Depending on your elevation and where you live, canning times can actually be different. So I will link the National Home Food Preservation website, which is the gold standard of pressure canning and water bath canning down there. So if you want to learn more about pressure canning, it will be linked down below for you. Okay, so that is ready to go. So now what I think I'm gonna do, now that I have the stove clear, is I'm gonna turn my, well, I'm gonna wait on that. I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350 because for the, I still have a couple more jars to jar up, but I can do that in a little bit. Get this over here. The recipe said that for the English muffins, if I can't get them fully cooked through on the stove, you can finish them in the oven at 350. So now that I have my oven preheating, I'm gonna heat up my griddle, and I put it on this side of my stove because these are my smaller burners. And the recipe says you wanna cook these low and slow because you wanna get them kind of toasty on both sides, but you need to make sure that they get cooked all the way through. So we're just gonna heat this up. I can put this away while we wait. There was a little bit of a learning curve with this, but low and slow is definitely the way to go. Once they were proofed, I wanted to be able to hold my hand over the griddle for a bit and then go ahead and top it with some more cornmeal. And I'm going to put it top side down so that the cornmeal that I have on the bottom of the English muffin while it was rising is now going to be on the top. I did end up cooking these until they were kind of toasty on each side, and I finished them in the 350-degree oven for about 3 to 4 minutes, and they were perfectly cooked. We're going to do a taste test with Josh in just a minute. And when I was cooking these, I remembered this restaurant we used to go to. I think it was called Oceanside in Manzanita, Oregon, on the Oregon coast. It's been years since we went there, but we used to go to this beach in particularly and stay every year until 2020, and you all know what happened then, and we got out of the habit. But they used to make an English muffin breakfast sandwich called a McOcean, and it was a homemade English muffin. It was the first time I'd ever had a homemade English muffin. It blew our minds. They would put a honey mustard on it with an egg and cheese and ham, and it was so good. And so as I was making these, I was thinking about that, and Josh and I were talking after we do the taste test, and we were like, we need to go back to the Oregon coast and we need to go stay in Manzanita, Oregon and go get a McOcean because those were incredible. And these English muffins turned out pretty good for my first real attempt. If you didn't know this, you can take the temperature of bread products, and if it's over 200 degrees, you know your bread is cooked. So what I'm gonna do now is Josh is here, and he is going to try one of these English muffins. And I was watching a video, and the proper way to cut into an English muffin is to actually take a fork and run it around the edges so that you get those craggy center instead of it just kind of smashing it. I think I watched that on America's Test Kitchen.
Well, looks good to me.
Would you like butter and jam on yours for the taste test, Josh?
That sounds amazing.
Okay. I was telling them about McOceans.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember.
I'd forgotten about those. It's been
I know, I told them
several years now.
I forgot about them too and how good they are.
Yeah, are you gonna do that tomorrow, you think?
Yes. I need to run into town tomorrow because I don't have ham.
Oh.
And so I think we got ham ones, right? They were ham, egg, cheese, and honey mustard. Just putting a little jam on here. This is strawberry jam we made together last year. There you go.
Sweet.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. I love a good English muffin.
This looks really good. I can't wait.
So here's what it looks like. It's nice and done on the bottom, but it's not hard. Cheers.
Cheers. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's really good. I could probably eat a dozen of these. I know I shouldn't.
I think I made like 2, 4, I think like 14.
Wow. We gotta save some room for dinner, but this is like amazing.
We have dinner right there.
This is the perfect texture.
Good. I'm so excited about this. Now tell me, would you rather have this or a bagel?
Homemade, I don't know, that's tough.
They're kind of different.
The homemade bagels were really good too.
The blueberry homemade bagels, if you missed that, oh my goodness.
I don't know if I could pick it. I think they're pretty much like, if we're talking plain bagel versus plain English muffin, they're probably dead even.
Really?
Yeah.
Now what about the blueberry?
Well, that was very good.
This is so good. I'm so excited to have this as a breakfast sandwich tomorrow with some honey. We're gonna put honey mustard, sharp cheddar cheese, thinly sliced ham. So that's what I have to go get is some thinly sliced ham. And was there an egg on it?
There was an egg, yeah.
Okay. And a fried egg, which I have an abundance of those.
Very good, thanks.
You're welcome. Josh is really enjoying it over there. So I've got dinner done today. I don't have to worry about that. And my pressure canner just beeped and said it's done. So I did have, I think when I was filling the jars, I had an extra 4 pints. For dinner, I just cooked some rice with some of the extra broth, and then I put the other 2 pints in the fridge, and I'm just gonna use those this week. I'm probably not going to go ahead and can these. Now this canner does need to cool absolutely completely, just like a stovetop canner. I'm just gonna let this sit for an hour or 2, let it just come down to room temperature. I'll open it. I will let the jars sit on my counter overnight. I'll wash them, label them, and they will go on my pantry shelf. So today was a great day of kind of restocking the pantry. I have my strawberry lemonade concentrate that's gonna go in the freezer. I am so excited for this for when we have friends over or we just want a nice, fresh, delicious beverage, but probably this will be used mostly when we have people over for dinner. And that was a fantastic restock the pantry day. I had a lot of fun with you today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. If you're new, please consider subscribing. We do a whole bunch of baking from scratch, making meals from scratch. We go grocery shopping, we do gardening, we do food preservation, and we just have a lot of fun in the kitchen and in the home. If you are returning, thank you for taking time yet again out of your day to spend time with me. If you want to see how I made those bagels, let me put a video here and you can see how I made a ton of bagels. And I'll put another video down here you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. If it's the crock pot mango curry, I'll put that right here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.